Hey guys, Jexie here. Welcome back to another video. Okay, so in today's video, I want to talk about something that's not necessarily recovery related, like my normal content, um, but something that many of us have gone through. I want to talk about gaslighting. It's a term I've heard thrown around on the internet a lot in recent times, and something I have some experience with, so I thought I'd share that with you guys. Okay, so gaslighting. It seems to be a very hot topic type term on the internet with things going on with Anna Campbell and things going on with Creepshow Art. We very often hear the term gaslighting being thrown around. So what is gaslighting? So gaslighting, by definition, is to manipulate somebody by psychological means into questioning their own sanity. So the term gaslighting comes from a movie from like I think it was like back I don't know 30s, 40s, 50s, I'm not sure. It's an older movie, black and white, where the woman's husband is making her feel like she's losing her mind by messing with the lights in the house, which were gas lights. That's why the term gaslighting comes from. But that was like the first instance of gaslighting, right? Which is was using gas lights to make this woman feel like she was losing her mind. Um, I have to say that I think a lot of times when we hear gaslighting on the internet, although they may be specific examples of gaslighting, I don't know that it would quite qualify. What do I mean by that? So you can use anything as an example of gaslighting, right? Like this person said this to make this person believe that they were wrong or whatever. Sure, that may be an example of gaslighting. But the actual concept of gaslighting is a much more long-term abusive type way of living. It's one of those things that you don't really know you're going through until you're out of it. You really believe, right? Like if you're really going through gaslighting, you don't look at it and say, "Hey, you're gaslighting me." No, you really believe you're losing your mind. And it's not until after the fact, where maybe other people can show you that you're not losing your mind, that you realize you've been a victim of gaslighting. So essentially, if you can recognize that what's happening is gaslighting while it's happening, it may not necessarily be a severe case of it. Does that make sense? Um, it's not to say that's never the case, but I think often things that can be examples of gaslighting, or something that is somebody's gaslighting in a specific, example, so that they can try to get out of being in trouble or something, that's one thing. But I think that it needs to be a more regular occurrence for it to really meet the definition. Now, that's just my opinion. It's not to say that, these aren't examples of gaslighting or anything, but that's why I think, like, if anybody follows like the Anna Campbell drama, a lot of her victims have been victims of gaslighting, because it was used as a abusive manipulation and control tactic, which is usually what it is. So let me give you some examples of my own life. I remember the first time I really recognized that perhaps something was going on. Though, keep in mind, at the time, I really thought maybe I was losing my mind. So I played softball for a little while, just for fun. Not super good, not terrible, but definitely on the very mediocre side at best. But I had fun. It was a lot of fun. And I played on a league. It started off actually that I was playing on an NA league for fun, and one of the people who played on the league played on a co-ed team, and they invited me to play. And then I played on the women's team, and it was fun. And most of the people on our, even though it wasn't a recovery league, most of the people on my team were in recovery, and I really had a really great time. It was so much fun, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. But we used to have a lot of doubleheader games. It was like on a Thursday. And so I would tell my ex-husband, my husband at the time, that we had a game. And let me give you a very specific day. So very often he would tell me I never told him when games were. So I remember this particular week really well. And I told him on Monday, just so you know, on Thursday, I have 2 games. They're double headers. I think the first game was at 4:30 and the second one was after, or whatever the times are. And so Tuesday, Wednesday come along. I said, remember, I have 2 games back to back on Thursday. And the reason I was telling him this over and over is because for weeks, every time I told him I had a game, he would tell me that I never told him, that I was trying to be sneaky, that I was, up to something. And of course, I would invite him to my games. He never wanted to come. And in fact, I think out of the 4 years I played, he only saw me play once. He brought the kids for like 10 minutes because I begged him. And then that was that. But he would always try to make it seem like I was being secretive about what my games were, or practices were, to try to hide things from him. So this particular week, I'm telling him every day, Thursday, before I leave, I say again, hey, I'm going to softball. We have 2 games. We have a doubleheader. I'll call you after the first game so you have some sort of idea of time when I'll be home. So I'll call you after the first game before the second game starts. So he said, okay. And I went to play softball. The first game was over. I called him and I said, hey, first game's over. Second game's about to start. Just wanted to let you know. And he very seriously said to me, what do you mean second game? You never mentioned having a second game. I was like, yes, I definitely did. I told you today before I left the house. I told you yesterday. I told you Monday. What do you mean I never told you? Yes, I did. No, you didn't. You definitely didn't tell me. I'm 100% sure you never told me. Are you really having a second game? Or are you going to see somebody else? Are you going out and doing something? Where are you? What are you doing? I was like, I am at the softball field. You can come watch. I would love for you to come watch me play. Come to the game. You'll see. This is where I am. And he went on and he's like, I'm not dragging the kids out now. I wouldn't bring them out this late. Like, you're being deceitful. Like, why wouldn't you just tell me you had 2 games? You shouldn't have had to spring it on me like this. And I'm losing. I'm questioning my own sanity because I'm certain that I had told him that I had 2 games. That I told him I had 2 games so many times. But he was so adamant on the phone that I had never said it. So I started to think, like, maybe I imagined saying it. Maybe I only told him I had a game. Maybe I wasn't clear, right? Even though in my head I knew I had specifically told him multiple times, right? Because this used to happen all the time. And this particular week, I was like, I'm going to make sure it's not me. I'm going to make sure that I am not the one that's misremembering, and I'm going to tell him again and again and again up until game day. And that's the only reason that I remember this particular time as being 100% sure that I told him, right? Because this had happened many times, and I was trying to do what I can to prevent it. And so, look, I got off the phone, I was upset, and, and he was mad. I got home, he was very mad at me. He couldn't believe that I had not come home right after the phone call, and how I could still stay out doing whatever I was doing, right? That is gaslighting, right? And of course, I didn't realize it at the time. I had no idea that that's what that meant until after I left, and people were like, that's what that is. There was a lot of abuse things that I didn't know were abuse until after I left and I had gotten out and gotten help and had these things pointed out to me, like things like not being allowed to have any control of our money, even though I worked, just a lot of things where he wouldn't answer my calls. There was emergency situations where I couldn't reach him. I'll go into some of those stories another time, but I just wanted to give my own example of like what it was like to go through gaslighting, because you really do question your own sanity. You really do believe. I can't tell you how many times I went to my doctor crying, telling him that I was bipolar. And my doctor would be like, why do you think you're bipolar? Like, because my husband is telling me I am, and he sees me every day. He must know. And, finding out later that is very common with abusive spouses telling their wives that they're bipolar as a way to discredit what they're feeling, right? These are all things I didn't know. So anyway, maybe I'll talk into some of that other stuff another time, but I wanted to talk about gaslighting because I hear it. It's such a popular word on the internet right now, and I feel like it's thrown around a little bit too easily because the real ramifications of gaslighting, the real feelings of having gone through that, the experience of really feeling like you're losing your mind and that you are no longer in touch with reality is scary. And it's not common in a lot of these examples of gaslighting. So I just thought I'd bring that up. Let me know your thoughts. Have you ever experienced gaslighting? Is this something that you knew? Have you heard the term? Have you, let me know your thoughts. Remember, please hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps a lot with YouTube algorithms. And yeah, look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye, everyone.